The sun of Carrion 5 hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the bustling spaceport. Traders shouted, merchants waved their wares, and travelers of all kinds hurried from one terminal to another. The air was thick with the smell of engine oil, spices, and strange alien plants. In this lively chaos moved Leora, a skilled scout working for the Planetary Council. She had sharp eyes, quick reflexes, and a mind trained to notice the smallest detail. Today her task was simple: monitor the incoming travelers and ensure no troublemakers entered the city. Leora's eyes scanned the crowd as she walked past groups of aliens with shimmering skin. Humans in protective suits and robotic assistants carrying heavy cargo. She noticed a young man moving alone, hands in his pockets, looking almost too calm for the chaos around him. His hair was dark, eyes a deep brown, and he carried himself with an ease that caught her attention. He seemed ordinary, too ordinary. Most travelers here were nervous, hurried, or distracted, but this man moved with careful awareness, avoiding collisions without seeming to notice them. Leora tilted her head, curious. Something about him felt different. The man noticed her gaze and gave a polite nod. "Hello," he said softly, his voice calm and steady. There was nothing unusual in the way he spoke, yet Leora felt a strange sense of reassurance hearing it. "Hello?" she replied cautiously. She decided to follow him at a distance. Not because she suspected him, but because curiosity had a way of pulling people in. As they walked, she noticed small things. When a merchant dropped a crate of glowing orbs, the man caught it with one hand, almost effortlessly before it hit the ground. When a group of aliens argued loudly, he stepped past them without disturbing a single person. Each time it looked like simple luck, but Leora's trained mind told her it was more than that. The spaceport's loudspeakers announced an incoming shuttle. The crowd shifted, and in the rush, a group of rough-looking aliens tried to push past travelers, demanding extra fees and attention. Leora's hand went instinctively to her utility belt, ready to intervene. The man stepped forward, and with a calm gesture, blocked the largest alien. He didn't shout or strike. Instead, he moved in a way that made the alien lose balance and stumble. The others froze, unsure how to respond. Within moments, the troublemakers were gone, grumbling, and the crowd resumed moving as if nothing had happened. Leora watched, astonished. She approached him. That was impressive. Most people wouldn't even dare stand up to them. He smiled faintly. "I didn't do much. Just made them see the easy way was better." Leora raised an eyebrow. "You're calm. Almost too calm. What brings you here?" "Just traveling," he said simply. "Learning about the frontier planets. Seeing what life is like beyond Earth." "Alone?" she asked. It wasn't safe for someone inexperienced to wander alone in these parts. "Yes, I prefer it," he replied, as if that explained everything. Leora studied him for a moment. He seemed ordinary, polite, even humble, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more than met the eye. She decided to keep an eye on him, not because he was a threat, but because she had learned long ago that appearances could be deceiving. The day passed slowly. Leora watched the man as he moved through the crowd, interacting politely with merchants, helping travelers pick up fallen luggage, and showing a strange understanding of alien languages. By noon, she realized she didn't know his name. "Dalen," he introduced himself when she finally asked. "Dalen Core, and you are?" Leora Venn," she said, shaking his hand. "Are you staying on Carrion 5 long?" "Only a few days," Dalen replied. "Then I continue my journey." The sun dipped lower and the sky turned golden. Travelers began boarding shuttles or heading to lodges for the night. Leora and Dalen found themselves near a small market square. A vendor was closing his stall, packing up crates of glowing fruits. As they passed, Leora noticed a gang of aliens watching them from the shadows, rough, burly, and clearly looking for trouble. Her instincts screamed caution. "They're watching you," she whispered. Dalen glanced at them calmly. "I noticed," he said softly, almost as if acknowledging a friend. Leora's hand hovered near her sidearm, but before she could act, the aliens approached. "Traveler," one growled. "Hand over your credits. Or else." Most people would panic. Leora tensed, ready to intervene. But Dalen didn't move erratically or raise his voice. He took a single step forward. His eyes narrowed and his body shifted subtly as though preparing to react. The alien lunged. In a fluid motion, Dalen sidestepped, grabbed the alien's arm, and twisted. The alien tripped and fell, crashing into the crates behind him. The others hesitated, unsure how to respond to such precise, controlled movements. Leora blinked. This wasn't just skill. It was training, instinct, and something beyond normal human capability. Yet Dalen didn't seem to notice the surprise on her face. He simply stepped back and gave a polite nod to the remaining aliens, who muttered curses and fled. When the danger passed, Leora couldn't contain her curiosity. How did you do that? You didn't even touch them roughly, but they went down like toys. Dalen smiled faintly. I've had practice, he said, vague but calm. It's just about reading people. Seeing their next move before they make it. Practice? Leora repeated. What kind of practice? You're different, he shook his head, smiling. Just a traveler learning from the galaxy. That's all. Leora wanted to believe him, but her instincts told her otherwise. There was something hidden in him, something extraordinary. And yet there was also a warmth, a calmness, a human side that made her want to trust him. As the sun set, the spaceport lights flickered on, casting the market in a warm glow. Dalen and Leora walked together, talking about the frontier planets, about strange alien species and the wonders of space. With every step, Leora felt both curious and cautious. She had met many travelers, many warriors, many deceivers, but Dalen felt like none of them. By nightfall, they reached a small inn at the edge of the port. Travelers were settling in, laughter and music spilling from the common hall. Leora paused at the doorway, looking at Dalen. You know, she said softly, I thought I could read people. But you're not easy to read. Dalen chuckled quietly. Maybe that's a good thing. Keeps life interesting. Leora smiled, but deep inside she felt a spark of anticipation. Something about Dalen was about to change everything she knew about humans, about strength, and about courage. She didn't know it yet, but the calm traveler beside her was not just an ordinary man. Something extraordinary lay hidden, waiting for the right moment to emerge. And on Carrion 5, where danger and wonder walked hand in hand, that moment was closer than anyone could imagine. The next morning, Carrion 5 woke under a pale orange sky. The spaceport buzzed again with the endless shuffle of travelers, merchants, and explorers. Leora walked through the crowded streets, her mind still replaying the strange encounter from the night before. Dalen had seemed ordinary, yet his calm skill in handling the gang had hinted at something more. She couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding a secret, one that could change everything she knew about humans and the frontier. As she rounded a corner near the central plaza, she spotted Dalen again. He was studying a holographic map of the planet, fingers tracing routes and marking certain locations. He looked focused, almost as if he were planning for something serious. You're early, Leora said, approaching him. Dalen glanced up, smiling faintly. The city is quiet in the morning. Easier to notice patterns, to understand the flow of things. Leora frowned. Patterns? You sound like a scout yourself. I guess you could say that, he replied lightly, returning his attention to the map. I like to know my surroundings. Helps avoid trouble. Leora watched him carefully. She had spent years scouting dangerous regions, and she knew the difference between someone cautious and someone experienced beyond reason. Dalen's calm, precise movements were unusual. Something about him felt almost trained. Look, Leora said, pointing toward a narrow alley. Those aliens from yesterday. They're not gone. I've seen them hanging around again. They're part of a bigger gang, Zifron Syndicate. They extort travelers and control smuggling routes across this planet. Dalen's eyes narrowed slightly. I've noticed. They move quickly, but they leave patterns. Small signs, predictable. Leora was impressed. You notice that? Most people wouldn't even think to look. Observation is simple, Dalen said. You just have to pay attention. As they spoke, the alley erupted in chaos. Shouts, crashing sounds, and the sharp clang of metal echoed through the plaza. Leora tensed and reached for her sidearm, but Dalen moved first. Not hurriedly, not violently, just confidently. A group of Zifron Syndicate enforcers had cornered a merchant, demanding payment for protection. Leora saw them pull a glowing crate from his cart, intending to steal it. Most humans would have panicked, but Dalen's movements were controlled, deliberate. He stepped forward, blocking their path. The gang lunged at him, but he sidestepped each attack with a precision that left Leora stunned. He didn't strike back violently. He used their momentum against them, twisting arms, deflecting blows, and forcing them to stumble. Within moments, the enforcers were disoriented, muttering curses as they backed away. Leora couldn't hide her amazement. "You're unbelievable. How do you do that? You didn't even hurt them badly, but they can't get past you." Dalen looked calm, almost shy. "I just read them." The morning sun on Carrion 5 was pale and soft, casting long shadows across the rocky outskirts of the city. Leora and Dalen moved carefully through the narrow canyons that led away from the bustling spaceport. Their destination was a remote cavern system, rumored to house ancient artifacts that might be linked to the mysterious syndicate activity. Leora's senses were sharp, every sound, every movement noted. She had been through dangerous places before, but today, a strange anticipation pulsed through her chest. Dalen walked beside her, quiet, his eyes scanning the walls and cliffs with unusual focus. He seemed calm, almost too calm, as if he could sense the threats before they appeared. Leora's curiosity about him had grown since their encounters in the city. His skills were remarkable, but today she hoped to understand a little more. As they approached the cavern entrance, a sudden rustle echoed from above. Leora tensed, hand on her sidearm, ready for anything. Before she could react, a group of syndicate scouts dropped down from the rocks, weapons drawn, eyes wild with aggression. Leora froze for a split second, but Dalen moved before her, faster than she could follow. He didn't shout or attack violently. He simply shifted his stance, and in an instant his reflexes seemed sharper, his movements more precise. The scouts lunged, but he intercepted them effortlessly, disarming and neutralizing each one with fluid motions. Leora watched in awe, but then something unexpected happened. As Dalen blocked an attack from a particularly strong scout, his body seemed to change subtly. His muscles tensed and grew firmer. His stance became more commanding, and his eyes glowed faintly with a determined focus. Leora's heart raced. She had seen humans strong in combat before, but this was beyond normal human ability. Dalen's voice remained calm, but there was an edge to it now. "Stay close," he said to Leora. "Watch me and follow." The scouts were skilled, but Dalen moved with a speed and precision that seemed impossible. He dodged their attacks as if he could see the future, striking only when necessary, his hands and legs moving in perfect coordination. Leora could see the strength flowing from him, the hidden power he had kept secret until now. When the last scout was pushed back into the canyon walls, Dalen turned to Leora. His chest rose and fell steadily, but his eyes held an intensity she had never seen before. "Are you all right?" he asked. Leora nodded, though her voice trembled slightly. You're not just a traveler. You're something more. What is happening?" Dalen's calm returned slowly, but he seemed hesitant to speak. I have been trained, part of a human initiative to protect frontier planets. But I've lived as a normal human for many years. I wanted to see the galaxy without being a soldier." Leora's mind raced. "You mean you were hiding this power? You're a trained warrior? And all this time you acted like a normal person?" He nodded. "Yes, I wanted to understand people, learn from them, and experience life without my training defining me. But some threats, some situations require it to show itself." Leora stared at him, a mix of awe and concern. This changes everything. If the Syndicate knows who you are, they'll come after you. They'll come after me too." Dalen's eyes softened. "I'll protect you. That's the promise of the initiative, and I choose to protect you personally as well." They continued into the cavern, but the atmosphere had changed. Leora noticed subtle shifts in Dalen. He was faster, more aware, and his senses seemed sharper than before. The walls of the cavern glowed faintly with alien markings, ancient symbols that hummed with energy. Leora touched one, feeling a faint vibration under her fingers. "The Syndicate might be after this," she said. "Whatever this place is, it must be important to them." Dalen studied the markings carefully. "It's more than important. It holds power. Knowledge humans can use to defend ourselves, to protect our colonies." As they ventured deeper, a low rumble shook the cavern. Rocks fell from the ceiling and a massive creature emerged from the shadows, a guardian left to protect the artifacts. Its skin shimmered like metal and its eyes glowed with a strange light. Leora instinctively drew her weapon, but Dalen motioned for her to stay back. He stepped forward, calm and collected. The creature attacked, lunging with incredible speed. Dalen moved with a grace and power that seemed almost supernatural. He dodged its strikes, countering with precise movements that forced the creature back without harming it unnecessarily. His body seemed to radiate strength, and Leora realized this was the true form of the warrior she had only glimpsed in the city. She gasped. "I've never seen anyone move like that. Not even trained soldiers. You're extraordinary." Dalen paused, breathing steadily. "Extraordinary, maybe. But humanity's strength is not just in power. It's in strategy, courage, and heart. That's what I rely on." The Guardian stopped, sensing Dalen's presence, then slowly retreated into the shadows. Leora exhaled, realizing the danger was over. She looked at Dalen with new respect, awe, and a hint of fear. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked softly. Dalen smiled faintly. "I wanted you to see me as a person first, not a weapon. You deserve to know me before knowing my power." Leora nodded, understanding. "And now I see both. The human side and the warrior side." They approached the artifact chamber. Strange crystals and ancient devices filled the room, glowing faintly. Leora felt a strange energy pulse through her. Dalen carefully examined one of the devices, his eyes reflecting its glow. "This is what the Syndicate wants," he said. "If they control this, they could dominate multiple planets. We can't let that happen." Leora's hands clenched. "Then we stop them. Whatever it takes." Dalen looked at her, a small smile forming. "We do it together. But you must trust me. I may seem like a human traveler, but I can be dangerous. I will protect you, but you must be ready for what comes next." Leora nodded, determination in her eyes. "I'm ready. I trust you." For a moment they stood in silence, the cavern glowing around them. The bond between them had deepened, formed in the crucible of danger and trust. Leora realized that Dalen's transformation was not just physical. It was a revelation of who he truly was. And she knew that their journey together was only beginning. Outside, the winds of Carrion 5 howled across the canyons, carrying with them the distant sound of the Syndicate mobilizing. Leora and Dalen had seen only the first shadows of danger. The real battle was yet to come, and both of them would need every skill, every ounce of courage, and every piece of trust they could muster. Dalen turned to Leora, his eyes steady. "Tomorrow we strike at the heart of the Syndicate. Are you ready?" Leora squared her shoulders, feeling both fear and determination. "I've never been more ready in my life." And in that moment she realized something crucial. The human spirit, combined with courage and knowledge, could face even the greatest threats. And Dalen was living proof of that strength. The cavern's glow faded as Leora and Dalen made their way back toward the canyon entrance. The sun hung low on the horizon, painting the rocks in warm shades of orange and red. Silence surrounded them, broken only by the soft crunch of their boots on the rocky ground. Leora could feel the weight of what she had just witnessed. Dalen was no ordinary human. He was a trained warrior, part of something far bigger than either of them had yet realized. "I need to know the truth," Leora said finally, breaking the quiet. "Who are you really, Dalen? What is this initiative you mentioned?" Dalen paused, looking at her with steady, calm eyes. He took a deep breath as if preparing to share something that had been hidden for years. "You deserve to know," he said softly. "I wasn't always a traveler. I was trained as part of the Sentinel Project." Leora frowned. "The Sentinel Project?" "It's a human initiative," Dalen explained, walking beside her. "It was created to protect frontier colonies from alien threats. We were trained from a young age, enhanced physically and mentally, to defend humanity when no one else could. But I didn't want to live as a soldier forever. I wanted to experience life, to learn, to explore, and to understand what it means to be human beyond just fighting." Leora's eyes widened. "You lived among humans. And you didn't tell anyone? Not even your friends?" Dalen shook his head. "No, I wanted to see the galaxy without my power defining me. I wanted people to see me as a person first." The words hung in the air. Leora struggled to process them. She had seen glimpses of Dalen's extraordinary abilities, but knowing that he had been trained for years, enhanced for combat, made the earlier encounters feel different, more intentional, more controlled, and far more dangerous than she had imagined. "And the Syndicate?" Leora asked. "You've been preparing for this?" "Yes," Dalen said. "They are dangerous. The Zifron Syndicate controls much of the frontier's trade and smuggling. They have advanced technology, weapons, and intelligence networks. If they gain control of what we just saw in the cavern, they could dominate multiple planets. That is why I cannot allow them to succeed." Leora nodded, her mind racing. Danger had always been a part of her life, but this was on a different level. She felt fear, yes, but also a deep admiration for Dalen. He had lived a life of discipline and secrecy, yet he had chosen to reveal himself now, at a moment when they both needed each other the most. As they approached a rocky overlook, Leora stopped. "So, all this time you've been hiding who you are, and now we're facing a threat that is bigger than anything we've dealt with before. Why me? Are you let?" The night air over Carrion 5 was cold and sharp, carrying the distant hum of machinery and the soft wind sweeping through the rocky canyons. Leora and Dalen crouched on a cliffside overlooking the Syndicate's fortress. The structure was enormous, made of black metal reinforced with alien alloys, its turrets scanning the surrounding terrain with deadly precision. Lights flickered across its surface, revealing squads of guards patrolling every level. This was the heart of the Syndicate's power on the planet, and tonight they would strike. "Are you ready?" Dalen asked quietly, his eyes calm and focused. Leora nodded, checking her sidearm and gear. Her heart raced, but she had trained for situations like this. She had faced danger before, but never on this scale. "Ready," she replied. Dalen studied the fortress carefully. "We'll need to split their defenses. I will draw attention to the front gates. You take the eastern flank, disable the security systems, and create a path for us to enter. Timing and coordination are critical." Leora's mind raced. It was risky, but it was the only chance. "Understood," she said, gripping her gear tightly. As they moved into position, Dalen's body seemed to radiate strength and focus. He had embraced his warrior form fully now, every movement precise, every breath controlled. Leora watched, impressed and slightly intimidated. He was extraordinary, not just in skill, but in calm, strategic thinking. From the cliffside, Dalen launched a series of energy pulses at the front gates. Alarms blared immediately and guards scrambled to respond. As predicted, all attention shifted to him. Leora slipped through the shadows to the eastern flank, her heart pounding. Using a combination of stealth and skill, she disabled the security turrets one by one, her fingers steady despite the danger. Dalen moved like lightning. He engaged the guards with a combination of hand-to-hand combat and energy strikes, neutralizing threats without lethal force wherever possible. His enhanced reflexes allowed him to anticipate their moves, and his strength ensured that even the most heavily armed Syndicate mercenaries could not stop him. Inside the fortress, the corridors were tight and twisting, lit by dim alien lights. Leora moved carefully, following the route she had memorized from her scans. She could hear the distant sounds of combat, shouts, clanging metal, and Dalen's controlled commands. The Syndicate's forces were strong, but Leora's mind worked like a machine, analyzing patterns, predicting patrol movements, and exploiting weaknesses. At the central control room, she found the security console. Quickly, she hacked into the system, disabling cameras and unlocking doors to give Dalen a clear path. She felt a surge of pride. This was her moment to make a difference. Humanity's strength was not just in power, she realized, but in intelligence, courage, and teamwork. Suddenly, alarms blared louder. A group of elite Syndicate enforcers had discovered her presence and were advancing fast. Leora took a deep breath, steadying her nerves. She used her environment, crates, shadows, narrow passages to her advantage, leading them into traps and disabling them efficiently. When one tried to strike her from behind, she rolled aside, countering with precise hits that left the enemy stunned. Meanwhile, Dalen reached the main hall, facing the Syndicate's commander. The man was large, armored, and confident, wielding a plasma blade that hummed with deadly energy. He smirked, assuming Dalen was just a human traveler. Dalen's eyes narrowed. "Underestimating humans. A mistake you will regret," he said calmly. The battle began. The commander lunged with his blade, but Dalen anticipated every strike, parrying and countering with movements that were faster and more precise than anyone could follow. His enhanced strength allowed him to throw the commander off balance repeatedly, and his mental focus let him remain calm under pressure. Back in the corridors, Leora saw the Syndicate's reinforcements arriving. She called out to Dalen through their communicator. "They're sending more guards. Be careful." "I've got this," Dalen replied, his voice steady even with the chaos around him. Using his enhanced agility, Dalen moved through the hall like a shadow, avoiding attacks and striking with precision. The commander tried to overwhelm him with brute force, but Dalen's skill and strategy kept him one step ahead. Each strike, each move was controlled, efficient, and purposeful. Leora watched through the security feeds she had reactivated, impressed by his perfect balance of power and humanity. The fortress began to shake. Leora realized that the Syndicate had initiated a self-destruct sequence to protect their secrets. The walls groaned and sparks flew from damaged circuits. Time was running out. "Dalen!" she shouted. "The building is collapsing!" Dalen paused briefly, assessing the situation. He could continue fighting, but he knew saving lives was more important. With a decisive nod, he pushed the commander toward a side corridor, using his strength to incapacitate him without unnecessary harm. Then he turned toward Leora's position, moving with unmatched speed to reach her. Leora guided the remaining civilians through a series of narrow exits she had opened earlier. Dalen covered their path, neutralizing any threats that remained. The ground shook violently and pieces of the ceiling fell, but their coordination was flawless. Together, they moved like a single unit. Human intelligence and enhanced strength, courage, and skill combined. Finally, they reached the outer wall of the fortress. Dalen and Leora paused to look back. Flames and smoke rose from the collapsing structure, the Syndicate's power crumbling in front of them. Leora felt a rush of relief and awe. They had done it. They had stopped the Syndicate's plan, saved countless lives, and proven that humans, ordinary and extraordinary, could rise above even the greatest threats. Dalen looked at Leora, his eyes calm but filled with quiet pride. "We did it," he said softly. "Yes," she replied, breathing heavily. "We really did." For a moment they stood in silence, watching the fortress burn, reflecting on the battle and the journey that had brought them here. Leora realized that human strength was not just in physical ability or advanced technology, but in courage, strategy, and the willingness to fight for what was right. Dalen placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Humanity has the power to overcome any challenge," he said quietly. "Not because we are the strongest in the galaxy, but because we never give up. We adapt and we protect those who cannot protect themselves." Leora smiled, understanding fully for the first time. "You're right, and together, we can face anything." As the night sky stretched over Carrion 5, filled with stars and the glow of distant planets, the two humans stood side by side, victorious but aware that the universe was vast and full of challenges. The Syndicate had been defeated on this planet, but other threats existed, waiting to test humanity's courage and resolve. Leora looked at Dalen, her respect and trust deepened by the events of the night. "I've learned something tonight," she said. "Being human. It's more than just surviving. It's about courage, heart, and working together. You've shown me that." Dalen nodded, a small smile on his face. "And you've shown me that humanity's greatest strength isn't just training or power. It's people like you. Brave, clever, and willing to stand up for what's right." The fortress burned behind them, a symbol of the obstacles humans could overcome. Leora and Dalen knew this victory was only the beginning. The galaxy was wide, full of dangers and wonders alike, but humans, through courage, intelligence, and heart, could face any challenge. Together, they turned back toward the city, ready for whatever came next. They were no longer just scout and traveler. They were a team, a partnership forged in battle, strengthened by trust and united by the unshakable human spirit. And under the night sky of Carrion 5, humans had proven once again that even against the greatest odds they could rise, adapt, and triumph. The first light of dawn bathed Carrion 5 in soft gold, revealing the scars of the previous night's battle. The city was quiet, the chaos of the Syndicate's attacks now reduced to distant smoke and debris. Leora and Dalen stood on a high ridge overlooking the spaceport, surveying the aftermath. Civilians moved cautiously, cleaning up, repairing damaged structures and helping those who had been trapped during the attacks. The sense of relief was palpable, but the memory of the danger lingered. Leora turned to Dalen, her mind racing with thoughts. "We did it," she said softly, almost in disbelief. "We stopped them. The Syndicate won't threaten this planet anymore." Dalen's gaze remained steady on the city below. "For now," he said. "There will always be challenges, but humanity has shown what it is capable of. Courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act, that is our strength." Leora nodded slowly. She had watched Dalen fight, had seen his abilities fully revealed and had learned something important. Power alone was not what made someone extraordinary. It was the choice to use it wisely to protect others and to act with heart. Humans, ordinary and extraordinary alike, had that power within them. "Dalen," she said after a pause, "you didn't just fight. You inspired people tonight. Not just me, everyone who saw what happened. You showed them that humans can face even the most impossible odds." Dalen turned to her, a faint smile touching his lips. "I only did what was necessary, but yes, people can rise to meet challenges when they have hope and guidance. That is the true strength of humanity." They began to descend toward the city, carefully avoiding the remnants of fallen structures. Civilians and city guards were already clearing debris, and